Hey everyone, this is Sandip back with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to continue our Webpack series. So I have already created introduction to Webpack video. So this is a playlist actually, which I'm going to continue for some time. And the link is in the description. So you can go ahead and watch the first video, which is more of an introduction to Webpack. And then you can come back to this video. But you can watch this video independently also because, I'm going to talk about a different topic in this video. So let's jump into the video. Let's start coding something. This is going to be practical. So today we are going to talk about, I'm going to talk about loading assets. So in your project, right, in your JavaScript project, in your React project or Angular or anything, right, whichever technology you're using or framework you're using, you need to load the asset files like the images and the text files, right? And you can use Webpack. Webpack is a really good framework, I would say, or a technology, I would say, which you can use to load the images, fonts, SVGs, and the text files, and that too inside your JavaScript code. That's the beauty of Webpack, right? I mean, you can directly import images, SVGs, fonts into your JavaScript code. That's the magic, which Webpack does behind the scene, and you don't need to download any external dependency. I mean, you don't need to use that npm install command to install any dependency, as it's built into the Webpack. So it's part of the Webpack. So that's, you shouldn't worry about it. So there are like 4 different type of assets that I'm going to cover in this video. The first one is asset resource, which you can use to import large files like the big files, right? Big images or a big SVGs. SVGs would be smaller, but maybe. So big images, maybe I can take as an example. You can import the large files, and what is going to happen, a Webpack is going to store that file into a folder, and it's going to put a link into the image tag. And I'm going to do it practically. We'll jump into the coding. Second is asset inline, which you can use for importing small files, maybe like simple SVGs, right? And that will be embedded into your code or into your bundle, right, as a data URL. That will be a base64 format. Then asset is like a general type where the type is going to be decided based on the size of the file. So if the file size is greater than 8 KB, it is going to take this type, the first one which I have talked, asset resource. And if the file size is less than 8 KB for the smaller file, right, it is going to use the asset inline as a type. And this value, this 8 KB, this magic number, this is configurable, and we can change that value. And we will see how we can do that. And finally, I'm going to create an example where we are going to import the text files. Enough theory, but this is important. That's why, I just wanted to give you some context, just wanted to cover some background, just to set the context for the video. Let's jump into the coding now. I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code, and if you see, right, I have this Webpack folder. In the last video, I talked about this comparison old way, right, and the Webpack demo also I have given to you. So this is a project. Now today I have created a separate project called Webpack assets, and inside that I have just added one image file. First of all, we are going to talk about how to import images inside your JavaScript code. So I'm going to steal some data from my last project. Maybe I'm going to copy this index.html and I'll paste it inside my Webpack asset folder because I need it. Next, I'm going to copy my package.json file also, and I'm going to paste it. Let's copy this Webpack config.js also because we will need it. So I'm going to copy this one also, and I'm going to paste it here. So inside my package, I have just 2 dependencies, Webpack and Webpack CLI, which I'm going to install. Inside my config, I have the basic configuration, right? Where I'm going to create the index.js file inside my source folder. And it's going to, when I'm going to run Webpack, right, or npm start, which is a command, or build, npm build, right? It's going to run the Webpack command, and it's going to create the bundle.js file, which will be exported to the dist folder. And that's what I have included here, right? Dist bundle.js. So let's see how we can import images using Webpack. So I just undo it. First of all, I'm going to open this folder. So I need to open this folder Webpack asset in my terminal actually. So new terminal add folder, and I'm going to install my dependencies first. I'm going to say npm install. And it should be quick, and it was pretty quick. I'm going to clear my console. So we have our dependencies installed. Now, if I go back, you see that we got the node modules folder, right? So I have this car.jpg, which so I'm going to create a new folder here, not inside node module. I'm going to create inside Webpack assets. I'm going to call it source, and I'm going to push or copy this image inside that source folder. I'm going to keep my index.js, index.html outside only. And inside this source folder, I'm going to create two different files. One will be the index.js file. That's my entry point, right? And another one will be the utils. So I'm going to write some utilities function here, which I'm going to use inside my index.js file. So we're talking about adding images, right? So I'm going to create a function here. So I'm going to call it a function inside my utils.js add image, and it's going to take element as an input. So I'm going to pass the element where I want to add the image. So let's use our usual or simple JavaScript. So I'm going to create image element using document dot create element function, and I want to create an image element. Next, we're going to assign some attributes to it, right? Like the alt text. So let's give it alt text of, car image. Let's have some. So we're going to have the source attribute. Before that, I'm going to give it a width also. So let's give it a width of maybe 500 pixels. Okay, and now let's talk about the source, right? So our image. So I'm creating the image using JavaScript dynamically. I've created a function. You just pass the element. It's going to create the element. Even we can pass the source also as an attribute here, but I'm hard coding the source for now. So every image is going to need a source attribute, right? And now I can assign that source. I cannot assign that source. I mean, like something like this, maybe car.jpg, right? And it might work or might not. But instead of doing that, we can use Webpack and we can convert that image, into a JavaScript object, something like that. And that magic is done by the Webpack. So I'm going to say import. So this is a magical statement I'm writing, car. I'm going to call it a car. So it's basically I'm going to call it a car image to be more specific, from car. And it's inside the same folder, right? Inside the same source folder. So I'm going to say car.jpg. See that? This is something new, or this is a magical statement which I have written here, right? Car image. So basically, I'm taking all those bytes, image bytes, from the JPG file, and I'm putting it into a JavaScript object. Now I can use that JavaScript object here, car image, as a source. And this is not going to happen automatically. Basically, we need to do some configuration. We're going to do that. But before doing that, I'm going to add this image element. So I'm going to check for a condition. If you have passed me the element, okay, I'm going to add or append child my image into it. So I'm just taking some, precaution here that if the element is there, then only I'm going to call the append child function. Now, finally, I'm going to export this function. Add image. Simple, right? So we have a utility function ready, add image. Now this function I'm going to use inside my index.js file, right? So I'm going to import that function. So import add image from the utils. I got it. And what I'm going to basically, I'm going to target my document. So let's have a element. Maybe the element will be document dot query selector. And I'm going to target my body element. And now if I call the add image function, right? And if I pass the element which I have element, that's a body element, right? So I'm calling so add image is going to get this element. It's going to create an image and it's going to append that into the element which I have passed here, right? So, but if I go back and if I run, first of all, I need to create my bundle.js file. So I'm going to do that. Let's do that. First of all, let's create a bundle.js. I'm going to run the npm run build command, and that's going to create the bundle for me. And you see here, right? We're getting some error. The bundle has been created. If I go back to my folder structure, you see I got the dist folder and I have the bundle.js file created here. But still, I'm getting some error, right? Module pass failed, unexpected character. So this statement, this source car.jpg, which we are importing, it is not understood by the Webpack. And Webpack is really friendly, it's giving us the hint. May you need just read it. May you need an appropriate loader to handle this file type. And this is the beauty of Webpack. Currently, no loader. So we need to do some configuration to make this code work. Because if I'm going to run this, I'm going to run this index.html. I'm not going to see anything here. See the image? No, nothing is coming here. But we are getting the error, right? This error. Let's fix that. So to fix this error, we need to do some configuration, and that configuration is really simple. We'll just go into our Webpack config and I'm going to add some configuration here. So the first property which I'm going to use is a module, right? And inside that we need to create some rules. So this rules is nothing but an array. So we can create so many rules here, and those rules are read by the Webpack when I'm running that Webpack command. So it's going to go into this rules array and it's going to test. So so it's actually testing what it is doing basically when this code is running, import car image from car.jpg. When this code is running, it's going into this configuration, this Webpack configuration actually. Where is that file? And it's checking for the rules. Okay, do you have a rule for a JPG or a PNG or any of the different type of file? And it didn't found that rule there. So we need to write that rule. So I'm going to write that rule with my some regular expressions actually, // and then I'm going to say, okay, you test for a JPG or a PNG file. So if you have a JPG or a PNG file, probably, right? So I'm saying test. Okay, and we need to use object actually. We need to write inside an object, not directly inside an array. So every rule is like an object. So test for this. Okay, you got the JPG or PNG file. I will suggest you to use the type. So the 4 types which I have talked, right? I'll go back to my browser. So I'm going to say use the resource type, right? Use the asset resource type. So I'm going to say use asset and then resource. So this is going to move this image into the dist folder and it's going to link that image inside my HTML. So the magic, this is what the magic, this rule is going to create that magic for us, right? So let's save it. And I'm going to run Webpack command again by clearing console, not the console actually. This is, I can say this is a console only. Okay, sorry, this is not a console, terminal. So let's run npm run build. And now, see that everything is green. Voila, the things are working, right? Awesome. So let's go back now into our folder and you see here, right? So what Webpack did, it has exported that car.image here, this image. Even it has renamed that image to some special characters. And our bundle.js, it has that reference somewhere. Now, if I go back to my document, see that? Awesome. Our image, you can see the image, and if you do the inspect element, you see the reference, right? It has put it into dist folder, and now it is referring to that image. Then even it has copied that name, similar name, right? 524, some special character name. So it's pretty easy, to use Webpack and import your images. That was pretty simple. So you just go ahead and write your code. I've created a utility where I'm just importing the image. So you can import different types of files using Webpack. You can import images, you can import text, and maybe you can import other type of files also. And there are some uh, external or open source loaders also available for loading different type of files, maybe XML or something. Cool. So we talked about the first type, which was pretty easy, right? Resource. Now let's talk about asset inline. So now I'm going to put this image as an inline resource, right? So right now this image is not, this image is actually getting a reference, right, from the resource folder, and my resource folder is nothing but a dist folder in this case, right? What if I want to embed that image directly inside my JavaScript code? You can do that, and that's really simple. You just need to go to your Webpack configuration again, and you just change this resource to inline. That's it. And save. I'm going to run my build again, and this time you see the difference. Last time my bundle.js file was 4.95 KB. Now it is 1.17 MB, right? Why? What is the reason? Because now the image is embedded. So this image is there, that is from the previous build. If I go click into bundle.js and if I scroll down, I can show you, see, this is the image. This is that image which Webpack has converted into a base 64 format. So this is more of a, some garbage values. I don't know. I'm not able to understand. This is more of a byte code or something. I don't know. So it has converted that image into a base 64 format. And now Webpack is going to use this image. So I'll go back and I'm going to refresh my project now. Now you don't see that reference, right? You see the reference of that base 64 format. We don't have dist slash, we have the base 64 format. So I would suggest you can use inline for maybe small files like small images. But when you have a big files, right, like this car.image jpg file, right, I would suggest to go with a resource. Resource is a great idea because this is going to increase your bundle size, and which is going to increase your load time of the application. So I'll revert back to the resource one because the image is big. And maybe I'm not going to run the build. Let's talk about the third type, that is asset. So if I say asset, asset, something like this. If I say asset, it's going to decide based on the file size, right? So if the file size is greater than 8 KB, it's going to put it as a resource. If it is less than 8 KB, it is going to put it as a inline. So now if I go back and if I run my build again, no parser registered for asset. Okay, sorry, I did something wrong. And for asset, I think we just need to write asset, no asset. And I'm going to do that again. Okay, now you see the file size, right? It is now 4.95 KB instead of, if I scroll up, 1.17 MB. Because my car.jpg, right? If I go and click on the properties, probably if I can check the properties, not from here, I'll go back to my folder, Webpack asset, inside that source. And if you see, right, the size, the file size of this image is 915 KB. So it is obviously greater than 8 KB. That's why, it is taking it's choosing the first option, right? Asset resource. Now let's change the configuration. Let's change this 8 KB value to some other value. And to do that, we need to do the changes inside our configuration. So we do that inside this rule object only, and we need to use something called, and this is really difficult to remember, so don't worry, you can come back to this. I'm going to upload all of these files on GitHub so you can check there. So parser is nothing but an object, and there is something called data URL condition. Even I don't remember this, I'm referring my notes. So data URL condition, and inside that data URL condition, we have a property called max size. You just remember that you can configure this particular value, max size. And this time I'm going to use 900 into 1024. So this is like a 900 KB. Okay. So if the file size, so I'm checking that, changing that 8 KB value to 900 KB, right? So now if I go back and if I build again, this time you see that now it has used asset inline. And if I go back, if I go, go back to my application and refresh, right, you're going to see that it's using the base 64 format. So you can change that value. You can configure that value using this parser and then using this data URL condition. So now the max size is 900 KB, and that's how my image is, right? So it has like almost 905 KB. Okay, so let's move on and talk about the last category of asset which I wanted to cover. Say suppose you want to load text, right? And so you can load text and you can convert that text into a JavaScript string and you can use that string. So let's do that. I'll go back to my index.js, or maybe I'll go back to not greeter or index.js, and I'm referring the wrong project here. Webpack asset, inside that I'll go back to utils.js and let's change this alt text, this car image. Maybe let's load this text from a text file. So I'm going to create a new text file here called alttext.txt. And I'm going to say image here, or supercar image. Let's change it to supercar image, right? So this is just normal text I have created here. Alt text. I'm going to load this text file now using some loader. And that loader is nothing but the fourth category of loader, which I'm going to talk about, which is called asset source. So inside utils, I can write this kind of statement, alt text from, I can just say alt text.txt. This is the magic of Webpack. So behind the scene, Webpack is going to load data, the text data from this alt text.txt file, and it's going to put it into this string. Now this is a JavaScript string, which I can use here instead of this car image. I can replace it with alt text. And now if I save, and if I go back, and if I first of all, I need to do some changes also inside my configuration because it's not going to work that way. So I'll go back to my Webpack config file, and this time I'm going to add a new loader basically, right? So we are defining the rules here. So I'm going to add a new rule for loading my text file. So I'm going to say test for /.txt files. So if you see the txt file, please use this type of loader. So I'm going to say use asset /source. That's the name of my loader, right? And again, I need to build my project. So I'm going to run build, and we don't see any errors. The file size is 1.17 MB because of that asset, because of this condition, right? So now if I go back and if I refresh, see that alt text supercar image, and which is coming from my text file. We don't have any errors, right? So this is the beauty of Webpack. You can use Webpack to load different types of files. Like we have seen the example of loading images using the load asset resource, asset inline. If you want to embed that image as an inline into base 64 format. We talked about asset, which is a general type, right? And you can configure that 8 KB value also. And we talked about asset source for loading the text file. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to tell you, I would suggest, go ahead and practice this. Try loading different asset file, try loading images, try loading the text file, maybe create a different example other than what I have created here. And it's going to help you a lot. If you code, then only you learn something. Just watching a video is not going to help. So with that, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to see you in the next video, probably next Webpack video, which I'm going to come up soon. Until then, you take care and goodbye.